I'm Nate Carlson again. I'm at Cal Lutheran University. I'm actually starting a teacher circle in Thousand Oaks, California right now. And I'm thinking about this question of connecting to the school districts and also diversity at least I have thoughts about how to diversity for the students, although I'm getting teachers, so a little bit different situation. But my suggestion, I also founded a teacher circle in Tucson, so I have some other background here too. My suggestion is that you find somebody to work with, to start with, who is as enthusiastic as you are, because you'll need to split the work. You'll need to be able to talk about how you want to plan things. I would start there. So I sort of see a progression of people to talk to as you start your circle. One is find some people who want to start it with you, who are as excited about it as you are. Look for people at your university who are connected to the school districts as well. So you may want to talk to the education department. You may want to, or the education school, or in my case, in Thousand Oaks. Or if there's a liaison at your university who works with the school districts, I would talk to them and ask them who else could I talk to next, so there's sort of this progression of people. You may also want to talk to administrators in the school districts, partly to get permission to do some of this. If you want to start a math circle or teacher circle, you may want to get their backing, their support. So administrators, education department at your university, or liaisons, and then eventually start talking to teachers, but I would filter through this other system first. But eventually talk to teachers and then generate student interest eventually. Also PR campaign could help. It helped with our Tucson Teacher Circle, getting information out there, pamphlets, flyers, things like that. As far as encouraging more of a diverse student body, or maybe students from an economically disadvantaged viewpoint, background, one thing that, I have two thoughts on this. One is to enlist the teachers in helping select students who they may fit the mold of helping to get a diverse student body. Talk to the teachers eventually. You may also think about logistics and, for example, getting students to your circle. How do you get them there? Now, I know the San Francisco circle, I've heard, has a program of actually having this circle at a different university that would be in more of a central location to attract the students that they want to attract. So, and thinking about how to get the students there as well. That's a big part of it too. Those are my thoughts.
I'm Amanda from Riverbend Community Math Center in Indiana, South Bend area. We're from a smaller town compared with some up here anyway, and so it's a little bit different. The community is a little bit more close-knit, I guess, overall, because it's smaller. As far as getting into the schools, when I first started working in my community 3.5 years ago, I didn't have a lot of ideas about working with the schools at all. I don't have background in math education. I didn't feel like I had anything to offer to school mathematics particularly. But what has happened in my community is I've realized that there's been a huge need. So teachers started inviting me. I went to public festivals and to the library to do public outreach programs, and teachers started coming by and asking me to come to their classrooms. And pretty soon I was doing math circle style activities in their classrooms. And then principals would ask me to come and do professional development sessions with their staff, and then people would ask me to do a particular thing, like, can you teach this in an interesting way? And I'd have to come up with some way to teach that in an interesting way that would be beyond what they're doing. So it has built up. At this point, we work officially with the administration in all 3 of the public school districts in our county, and do professional development more formally, and we're paid to do that, which is a nice way of getting income for our public outreach programs, for the kids in particular. So that's one thing. And what has happened is that I've realized that even though as a mathematician I didn't particularly have any training in how to teach fractions, which is my big thing that I'm excited about these days, well, you can learn, and you can, since no one else is doing it, you can hardly do worse. So just get in there and try some stuff and try to make it interesting, you know. The other piece was the appealing, you know, making with our public outreach programs. One very good way of getting to diverse audiences is to go to where the people are that you're trying to serve. So we go to the Boys and Girls Club and do a program there. Kids are already there. They're from all different backgrounds. You go to the schools or go to the community centers. There's a South Bend's public library is located in downtown South Bend. It's not a posh neighborhood. It's a very diverse community that it serves, and there's a lot of people from socioeconomically disadvantaged situations, ranging from the people in the homeless center to the people in various the YWCA's shelter, to people who are just in housing projects or who are in the lower income apartments that are in the downtown area. So we have, by just being located downtown and having our programs at the library or at a public forum in downtown, we've been able to get a hugely diverse population of people participating socioeconomically, racially, any which way. We also, again, have the advantage of the community. The building trades have been very excited about diversifying their pool of applicants. So they had me help the carpenters, electricians, plumbers, have had me help them to train apprentices from different ethnic backgrounds, racial backgrounds, and women in particular, to go and be carpenters and to get trained in this. And math is a barrier for those people. We also, for anybody who wants to go into those trades, I should say. We also have done a lot with African American churches who had us come to their church programs on a Wednesday night and do math activities with the kids while the parents are in Bible study. And so we've done a lot of that kind of thing. Or a group of churches are actually helping us to recruit people from among their church members to come to our programs. I didn't approach them, but they've come to me and said, hey, we want to help get this going. We really like, you know, our kids have been coming to us and we really love it, so can we spread the word among our friends?
You're being lucky. My name is Miroslav. I work in Miami, Florida, and the math department of Florida International University runs 2 circles. One called Little Circle for middle schoolers, and one is the Big Circle for the high school kids. And I have a lot of experience with many ups and downs and many frustrations, and trying to attract people to our activity. We started with a very small group of students, basically children of colleagues of ours, of course, who understood that the kids have to be engaged in some mathematics oriented in order to get better at school, in order to get better view toward mathematics in general. Then we decided to make this an outreach, more general, more perspective thing, and here is where our travels began. So we went to schools, talked to principals. They promised all the stars from heaven to us, and nothing happened. This we tried 2 years in a row, and then we realized that actually the parents are the most important driver here. So there are moms who are parts of PTAs, and these moms are really very helpful. So they would come with their kids and they will give lift to the rest of the kids come to our circles, and it was really a very nice experience working this way. Now, one way to advertise our circle was to use the university mail system. So we first let our community, university community, know about the circles, and little by little, from mouth to mouth, the information spread out and more people came. Then there was a period after this up, there was a period of down, when our chair told us that, okay, there is nothing glorious in having a circle in our department, so maybe we have to stop it and do something else. Well, here we had the help of MSRI. I mean, MSRI running such things is a huge name for help. I mean, the basic argument which stopped any reaction from our boss, from the side of our bosses, was, okay, look at MSRI and see what they are doing. Look at the biggest universities. Our university is not of the biggest ones. There are universities much more successful in research and also in circles. So the circles is not something that doesn't allow you to do research. On the contrary, you can do them together. And there was also a very interesting argument that nowadays money for education is more than otherwise, and this also helped us convince our bosses not to interfere to what we do. Now there was another phase of our interaction with public schools. So we decided to write a proposal for an NSF grant with the school district, and there was an up. The previous boss of the mathematics school district was very supportive, but she was fired because of budget cuts, and the other lady who came to her place, she directly told me that actually we are writing the proposal because our university needs the money and not because we want to help the system. And this was absolutely frustrating for me, and I wanted even to write in the papers. I mean, all the people to read about this was absolutely ridiculous thing. But little by little we managed to convince her that it's a good thing to write the proposal. So my point here that I want to make is, if you work at a place like Miami, say, where the people have so many other interests and they can do so many more other things, that you have to fight for every kid to come to your circle, you have to be persistent. There will be ups, there will be downs, but in the end, ups hopefully will be more than the downs. It's not easy. It's not easy. We have variety of people with huge variety of interests. We have many types of people in Miami. And to convince them that meeting twice a month and doing math with their kids is not an easy task.
What day do you meet?
Huh?
What day do you meet?
Saturday. So this is a rule for us. We meet every other Saturday, but one Saturday is the little circle, the other Saturday is the big circle, because there are students who want to join, to be in both circles.
How many students?
Well, the best number of students that I have had is 25. But usually I have
25 for one circle?
Yes.
It's just like once, just count once. Or what is the regular number?
The regular number is about 8 to 10. And most of them are Chinese background. They come from the Chinese school. They have the Chinese school in the morning, and then they come to the mathematical circle. And the rest of the population, they don't go to the school in the morning. They don't come to the circle.
Maybe Saturday is not good time for kids to come. I mean, just maybe you need to find the right time for kids to come.
Well, Sunday is time for church, usually. Saturday, we thought about this. We tried to organize the circles during the week, weekday. But it's not easy in Miami. We have traffic. And it's not like going to a circle in Harvard. I mean, you will come from the other state to go to the circle there. It's a circle at FIU. You have to sacrifice many, many things to do so. Why should you be doing this if it is not Harvard? It's, you know, it's a different thing. It's very challenging, and you have to have approach to every person, separate approach to make them come things. Another thought that Tito Andreescu shared with me was that, okay, if I need more support for my circle, I have to go to the biggest boss. I mean, you go to the provost, you go to the president of the university, you prepare the documentation that you need to be able, I mean, the help from the university that you want in order to run successfully the circle. And the big bosses, they usually see the big picture. And they can be more helpful than the local ones who have many more things to think about and don't see how important it is, for example, to have a circle for the university. And the other thing is, what?
No.
Uh-huh.
But you have some financial support from university?
No.
Even from department?
Well, they give us rooms.
Rooms, but I mean just they help you to send mails to teachers or what? Who help you do it by yourself? Is the secretary helping you?
No.
Nobody helping you.
I'm like,
How many
you know,
people
I'm
do
like
you
an
want?
angel, you
How
know.
many people?
How many people
No.
want?
Just that it's typical situation, but we had something like that, but just we try to solve it in some way. We solve it.
Well, your situation is much easier.
Why
You
is
know,
it easier?
Because, as far as I remember,
Uh-huh.
you live in a smaller place. I mean, everybody is around.
Around, but we're working hard to involve teachers. First of all, I think in center of it has to be teachers. So you need to work very careful with teachers, contact with them. I mean, for example, we're sending about 400, 500 emails, letters to every teacher's emails. We're sending emails, receiving couple of days, and just we're sending personal email. Like, go to school, find email address of each person and each school teacher, and we sell personal email, and we invite. And actually it's works. So this is wonderful.
No, I don't think this is a successful approach.
Perhaps finish the introductions.
Oh, sorry.
We haven't met the panelists yet.
So I'm Brandy Biggers. I introduced myself yesterday. I wear many hats, and I'd love to address that because I think that a lot of what it has to do is community, but I will let the introductions finish.
Is it just names now? Everybody else is talking a little bit.
Oh,
You
okay.
should have a chance to talk about what you do.
So I've at this point I started off and first was introduced to math circles when I was a graduate student at Davis. We started our own math circle program. 4 of us came up with the idea somewhat separately based on childhood experiences, and then we started talking and realizing that we were competing with each other for the money, and just for like the couple, a little bit of money for snacks. And so we said, instead of competing with each other, let's work with each other and start advertising together. And we worked out and created a year-long program where one of us started and did a math modeling module block in the fall, and then the next group came over and we did more traditional math circle-y topics, and then in the winter and then in the spring it took over and did problem solving. That was just 4 graduate students and 100 graduate students group that all of us had come up with a similar idea and started competing with each other just because we didn't have the communication. And we lucked out that we all were friends and said over drinks, oh, that's it. And I think that based on our experience and talking with teachers in the community, many of the areas, especially areas directly around universities, are overwhelmed with people having really great intentions and really great ideas and not necessarily the community buy-in to pull it all off. As we started to explore this further, we found out that the engineering department had a math outreach program, the math department now had a math outreach program, and the chemistry department now had a math outreach program. And we didn't even know about each other, and we were on the same campus. Yeah, the English majors. Yeah. And so what we started finding out is by working with centers, like the Center of Civic Engagement on campus, which is one of the main math outreach main outreach and enrichment programs on campus, we were able to then start coordinating and working together so that we weren't trying to duplicate the efforts. that really made a difference in terms of us going into the classrooms, because the classroom teachers get so inundated with these bulletins and announcements about this or that or this that they can't tell the difference. And so all of it just gets thrown in the recycling pile. And so unless you can take and find that personal connection and we then went to classrooms and we gave little presentations in the classrooms. In those classrooms, we made a choice of taking and putting people in the classrooms that were a diverse set of genders and a diverse set of faces, so that people had a chance to see someone that looked like them that then told them to come to this program. So by being in the classrooms, slowly then we created relationships with teachers, and from that we slowly built a community of people. And so I guess that's my whole entire key, is that you need to take and build a community of people and support. This is going to make it so much easier for you, so that it's not just you doing this math circle on a Saturday. It makes it more sustainable. It makes it so that the department has larger buy-in. And it starts then to have this other effect. When I am now in San Francisco, and I became involved last year in the San Francisco Math Circle program, and we were then this really well-established program that when someone wrote in their grant proposal that we want to work with the San Francisco Math Circle, because we were an established enough community that had connections within all of the school districts, that makes it more feasible that we're actually going to be able to take and connect with all the teachers that we needed for this grant proposal. And so I think, it's building community upon community upon community, but if that's what we're wanting for our students, it's not all that unreasonable that that's the basis that we're going to take and use for the program that we're trying to develop. And so I think that there's a lot of tools out there. Sometimes it's just finding that one person that's the hub that then knows all of the other people. And sometimes that hub is just this person has this. We have Michael in Oakland, and he just has this personality that if you bring him to an event that there's other teachers there, he's going to tell them how great this program is. And he just has this personality that just glows so that you believe him that this program is great. He tells you, he just walks up to you. You could be a stranger on the street, and he'll just be like, Oakland East Bay Math Circle, it's worth $1 million. That's the person that you need.
I'm David Scott, the University of Puget Sound. Many of the other people have touched on important things. Let me try to give just the way I tend to look at this issue of community outreach, connecting with schools and diversity, is within the mathematics itself. We have something that is relatively objective. I won't say they're right and wrong answers. Of course, we've all looked at how you can reframe the question, but there certainly is faulty and better reasoning. But then the teaching aspect of it is very social. It's relational, it's social, it's situational. And you have to be able to deal with both of those kind of things. So if you're going into the schools, one of the things you have to realize is, of course, that's an entirely different structure and environment. And the teachers there are paying attention to, they have different responsibilities, they have different points of control, they have different fears, and so you have to deal with many of these types of things. What I would recommend in terms of schools, I'll talk more about kind of community outreach, but again for schools is make that connection to the teacher. It may have to be through, you'll always have to have the approval of the higher-ups, the principal, and often in the higher administration in the school system. But it's the teacher who you're really trying to get to bring you the students to make those kind of connections. And a lot of these are going to be personal and a question of trust and believability. You have to recognize you have to do some of these things a little differently. Or be sensitive to learning what you have to do differently in these different settings. Just to give you a quick story in Tacoma, there was a lot of connections between community organizations of various types and the school district, and then there was a change in superintendent, and wham, every door of every was shut for almost any outside organization. Forget the math circle stuff. This is, these are park department programs, and even the PTA was there trying to shut out. You get that, right? And so you don't have control over those type of things. So you can always be flexible and look to some other avenue if things go really bad. I want to talk a little bit about outreach to either ethnic or economic or I will toss this in, math-phobic communities that you want to try to do. You're dealing with a big issue about the achievement gap. There's efforts to close it. A lot of people are concerned about it. Part of what you'll have to do if you want to have outreach to the community is to get the trust that you have a mechanism that works. And it isn't quite always good enough to talk like you would talk among mathematicians, learn how you would talk outside of that, and to people who don't necessarily do it just for the mathematics. They're going to do it because I need it in another thing, the carpentry kind of thing, and be ready to say, maybe we have to change it a little bit if we're going to go in that particular area. Also get a little, again, the same fashion, in order to build trust, what you really want to try to do is establish connection with someone in the community you're reaching out to who can provide your bona fides to tell you, that person who's trusted in the community who can say, yeah, these are people you want to work with. And it may take a while to find that person. You may have to look, and you may have to work and listen a lot. And some of this in terms of getting the trust and getting the interaction is learning a little bit about, if it's an ethnic community, for example, or a community of poverty, how things might be done differently, that your approach may not be the right approach to something. Let me just give you an example. I know of a program where people started talking about the importance of, this is in Hispanic, when we're doing better than your, don't you want to go on, people in your parents may not have gone to college, don't you want to go to college? And the reaction was, wait a minute, I'm not going to put myself above my parents. They worked hard all their lives. They did a lot of work to get to where they are now. Are you putting them down? So the change that brought the buy-in was, just think of what you can do for your community if you go through this kind of program. So it can be subtle in the sense of that kind of difference as to whether or not you may speak with good intention, but if you don't understand the community well, you may be sending a message that isn't quite so good. And you'll find that with African American community in various different ways, things about sort of respect, discipline, issues like that, voice, and how to interact in certain areas like that. You'll find it with the Native American community. And I list those in part because those are sort of, I don't know if I want to say the big three names, not necessarily the numbers, but in terms of achievement gap. The underrepresented minorities typically look at as African American, Hispanic, Native American. However, if you want to divide the Asian community up a little further into Pacific Islanders perhaps versus Japanese, Chinese, you'll find other kind of what one thinks of as ethnic divisions. So my main message is really establish, try to get personal contact, try to get trust. If the mountain won't come to you, you go to the mountain, and very often that's exactly what you'll have to do. And listen a lot too, because you really have to get a feel for how the community will respond to you in order to get the people there. Look for churches, clubs, this kind of thing.
I had a question to follow up on what you were saying. You mentioned getting trust from the school by saying how you could address this achievement gap. Do you have kind of evidence that you would present, or how would you convince them that what you're doing with the math circle would help them to close this achievement gap? Because that would be of great interest to the schools we deal with, for sure.
Yeah, two types of things. One is many of these, the hope can be very powerful now because there's a lot of panic out there among administrators about trying to do that and having to close up schools. But the type of evidence that you would look for would be things like the other math circles that I'm guessing have kept some of this, kept some of the data that they have on the students. A lot of it can be story data, anecdotal data. I mean, not in terms of scores, but hard data. If you have a circle, when I was running at the Urban League, the teacher, now I don't know if the Urban League kept this, but they got reports back from the teacher that the kids were much more enthusiastic in class and doing better. What you want to do is document that. So if the teacher says, these kids went to this math circle and wow, I really was impressed, or they did better, this kind of thing. Make sure that whoever you're working with is documenting it, although I haven't done that with this particular one. But I mean, those are the kind of things you can do. The last thing I would say is, look, this is more time on task, right? And we can help you with some of the things that you can't get done because you are focusing so much on the high-stakes test that's coming down the pike and threatening you. We can do some things to try to spur interest. And a lot of teachers will respond to that and say, hey, yeah. And particularly if you're doing a teacher circle, the teacher will say, yeah, I wish I could do some of the things I can do in my teacher circle. And on time, you take these kids. That'll help. So these are very specific things that you can do in terms of that.
Is anyone here performing a math circle in the Phoenix metro area? Considering?
I think that's the reason why we're here.
This is the point. The only one in the Phoenix metro area. And do you ever have a problem with children who have difficulty concentrating, let's say due to poor diet or because of emotional turmoil? Is that ever a problem? And is there anything you can do to manage that when it is?
Yes. We're a little different. We have so many different kinds of programs that run in so many different kinds of ways. Some of them are more formal, like a circle, and some of them are more of a free-for-all. And so when we go to the Boys and Girls Club for the first time, we just dumped the polydrons in the middle and jumped into questions about polyhedra for a semester, every couple times a week, coming in there and just nudging the kids to write things in their blue books and get at more and more ideas. But a lot of the kids who start off pretty hyperactive with a very short attention span developed a longer attention span the more often that we came. So they would start by dashing up to the table, making a shape, and running away to the art room or something. And they would end by spending hours thinking about a pattern or trying to solve a puzzle.
So you didn't do any specific things for those children, but they adapted to
adult
the environment?
attention is huge. We had, occasionally we had the luxury of having other volunteers that I could say, okay, just sit with these few students. And the kids at the Boys and Girls Club that I went to are so desperate for adult attention, they'll do almost anything, including sit still, which is pretty impressive. And they're not naturally gonna, wanting to do that, but they're not forced to do that, so they could get up and move if they wanted to. And that flexibility is important. And we have at our Math and Technology Academy, which is in downtown, it's a public, open to the public program. We have the same thing. We have a lot of different activities going on. So when the attention span starts to waver, they can get up and move and do something more active for a little while and then come back. I think that's important especially we have a lot of hyperactive kids who just need to move. And I think that's really important to provide that outlet. But I don't try to sit them down and do a math circle with them. I have a separate time when we do something that's more like that, where, okay, I'm telling you, in this program, in this time slot, you will have to sit and focus. So they choose, okay, can I sit and focus because that's a cool thing that I want to do, or do they want to just come to the other time when it's more free-flowing? So they have the option, and a lot of them will opt in, and sometimes it surprises me who opts in, and they'll control themselves,
We run into this similar thing. We just make sure to have lots of snacks so that if kids are coming hungry, and then I make the choice to have non-sugar snacks and really try to make something that looks like food so that they can recognize it. That's just a different national issue. And then we also, that's the advantage of our students coming with their teachers. We had a student, when I first got started, I didn't know I wasn't using the teachers as great of a resource as I could have, and I found out about 4 or 5 weeks in that we had a kid that was Asperger's, and his reactions just never quite made sense. But once we knew that, we could sit him closer to the door so that when he needed to get up and just sort of have his own little time, he could then come back. And we just sort of worked with him to fit his needs. So that's where having the teachers there to sort of they can tell you when the student's having a bad day and is just going to need to have a little bit of space but wants to be there because he's a part of that community and it means a lot to him to just be there. Also, listening to our community and hearing what they know about their students. We ran into the issue when we moved the program from USF, which is right in the middle of the mission in San Francisco. We moved the program from there to San Francisco State. And our numbers went really down, and our diversity really went down. We couldn't quite figure out what was going on. We went back and talked with the teachers, and it turned out that in the process of doing that, students were having to cross gang lines on the way of going home, and they weren't coming anymore. So we brought the program back into their schools and then used that as an opportunity to also do more group work. And that's also helped. Instead of taking and doing a giant group, we break them down into closer to 4 or 5 students at a table, and each one of those tables has a teacher or a graduate student that's working with the students so that they have that more individualized attention.
Miroslav, can I comment a little bit about this? I think about how to get students, this is just like we communicate. So my point is we need to be visible as more possible. Okay, so we need to inform society around us about this Matsokol. And what I just wrote some of my comments about how we did it. Actually, a lot of opportunities to do it, especially it's university-based Matsokol. Okay, so first we teach graduate students. Okay, we teach graduate students in our department. For example, we have mass educational students. They will be graduated soon. Some of them will be soon teachers. So we need to work with these. We're working with these graduate students. We invite for Matsokol. And then they'll go in a year or so, they'll go to schools, and they will have all the contact with these teachers. And this, by the way, first year, it was really, when we started Matsokol, it was exactly what we were expecting. So we had one teacher, and he invited a lot of kids, and he learned by himself, and he learned with kids sitting in Matsokol, okay? And also, make it public as much as possible. Just any chance, make it public. Okay, we'll talk about Matsokol. For example, we're doing Maths Olympiad. Okay, send flyers, write Matsokol. Students come to Maths Olympiad, and then they will listen. Oh, winners, it's Matsokol winners. Okay. So next is, for example, invite some special speakers, and also send these flyers to local high schools. Every teacher as much as possible. Or even first year we had an interview for local TV. Okay, and our chair of the department did some interview for local TV, and he presented Matsokol. And actually we had a lot of students, almost immediately after this interview. So article in local newspaper, also it worked very well. So also there is art, you can talk with public relations university and write some, ask to write article about Matsokol in local university newspaper. So what usually we do is we have 2 articles, but then we have event, it's about our Matsokol university. Or kids also important. If you have Matsokol,
Just one little question, maybe somebody can answer. It's not relevant to this panel, but it's even less relevant to other panels. That is why I'm asking it now. Kind of in the back of my head. Like, I work with kids. Parents leave children with me. It's my responsibility. So, what if a child chokes up on a candy and something happens? Like, I don't want to be in charge. I don't want to get sued by parents. Who knows what should I do? Should I ask parents to sign some magic paper?
I can comment on that. Yes, at MSRI we've got a lawyer that for the circles that we overlook has produced good legal forms and has approved them, and we make all the students religiously sign these forms and turn them in. I think there's copies of those Circle in the Box, which is on the Wiki and the National Association webpage as well. Go to the webpage and you can just take the form that was written by a lawyer in San Francisco, so you don't need to hire your own lawyer.
I'm going to comment on that though. Actually, the forms that we have posted right now are actually publicity forms so that you can take pictures of the students and post them without it being a problem. It does not currently cover liability. We do have, depending on the institution that you are at, you're going to need to take and get the wording from them. A lot of times, like San Francisco State, in order to meet on campus with minors, has their own paperwork. We can share the liability waivers that we send out for Oakland and San Francisco, and we could probably post those. Those aren't currently posted, but we could. But the legal paperwork does not include liability.
But you also might want a parent release form just to get medical treatment. For example, if the student got bitten by a bee and was allergic to a bee, they might need to be rushed to a hospital. And you might not be able to get to the parent. I'm just thinking we have had students bitten by bees that I rushed to the hospital.
Another thing I would say, I'm not a lawyer, but a lot of these liability issues are state by state. So what may work in one state may not work in another state. So we can try to figure out what works in the state of Washington. I mean, that's something that you should pay attention to, that they can change all over the place.
So
In detail.
maybe, maybe first is thank the panel.
Yes.